Welcome everyone to the School of Radiance podcast. This is a live recording all on tips for flowing through stresses in life. And I chose to use the word flow because that actually is a more feminine word. In the feminine, we're in the creative, we're in the flow. The masculine is very thinking, very analytical, getting things done. And there's also some hormones associated with what happens when we experience a stressful event. So let's start there. Having a mastery of your hormones is so key. Having a mastery of your nervous system is paramount. Making sure that your body's systems are operating as well as possible so that when a stressful event happens, you can overcome it and not have it show up on your face. Oh, this coffee's so good, with a little bit of Organifi collagen and also the Paleo Valley chocolate bone marrow based protein in there too. So fueling your body every day and reducing oxidative stress through the biohacking principles, which I talk about, and I have a free 30-minute biohacking training that you can actually check out, and I kind of give you an overview of how to start to purify your environment, to set your biology and your beauty up for success for not only now, but for many years to come. And in my tutorials, I actually take you through my home and show you exactly how I set up my air purifiers, water purifiers, red light, sauna, PEMF, the different nutrients that I take to support my skin, different adaptogens. By the way, this episode is sponsored by Organifi. And Organifi is my favorite company for adaptogens, and adaptogens help your body manage stress. And I mentioned the collagen. They also have an unflavored collagen as well, but their green formula and their glow formula and their harmony formula are just so delightful. They taste really delicious, and they have different adaptogens in them. These are actually mushroom extracts that help to support the body through stress and overcoming tricky situations in life so that you stay calm and in peace, and basically you're always calibrated for being able to overcome things. And you can find Organifi products over at Organifi, spelt with an I, not a Y.com/Varga, and use code Varga and save 20% on your next order. The glow one is particularly helpful for the skin because it's very hydrating for the skin. So that's Organifi.com/Varga. All right, let's get into the show and talk about some real life stuff here. This is a live recording, so I'm going to be just checking in on questions that come through from our audience. Hey, Jennifer, great to have you here. Let me know what questions you have about flowing through stressful events in life. Okay, so let's be real. Stress is a sign of being alive. I don't think that life is full of daisies, roses, and butterflies and, easy for someone's entire life. I don't think that exists. I think that even part of the hero's journey is there is a challenge. There is something to overcome. We meet people to help us out. We learn more information to add to our toolkit to help us be a little bit more conscious and dialed in with how we care for ourselves, with how we think, with how we communicate, with how we navigate things, how we negotiate, how we interact and engage with people. I mean, I talk about this stuff all the time in the membership, and it's just been instrumental in my life with stressful events. So you meet the people, you get the skills, you overcome the obstacle, and then you receive the reward on the other side, which when you overcome a challenging situation, guess what happens? You gain confidence. And then another challenging situation can pop up, right? Life is full of peaks and valleys. We live in a world of duality with yin and yang, up, down, left, right, north, south. And the confidence that's gained when you overcome something and when you flow through something, I think can also lend to the capability of you to be able to trust yourself even more. And when you're going through stressful events, when you keep your head on straight and you don't go into self-soothing or escapism, say through different things online that might not be good for you, like mindlessly watching shows. I mean, the housewife shows are a prime example, or reality shows are prime examples of, shows that are just going to reinforce really bad behavior. Just to put it simply, those shows are entertaining because the people in the shows are train wrecks. And it's not my goal for you to operate that way. But because other people's lives are train wrecks and they kind of amplify certain qualities that are like, draws people in, like, oh goodness, do people actually behave like that in real life situations? People that behave like that in real life situations, that just don't say kind things, that are just easily wrapped up or get engaged with not good conversations and situations with people, and are around people that really aren't adding value to their lives, it can become like a trap in these kinds of circles. So just like really take a good look at your family circle, at your friend circle, and in your professional circle, and in your relationships too. I want you to do this with intention and love, that some of the people that might be in your life could very well be draining you. And for a lot of you listening, you're very empathic, you're very intuitive, you're very caring individuals. People love to call us and tell us all their problems. And while it's good to be a shoulder for some people and then have others be a shoulder for us too, it should be reciprocated. It should be an interdependent relationship and connection. It shouldn't be codependent. So if you find yourself being drained, or you notice that everyone who calls me or calls you, who's a friend or family member or colleague, like vents to you about stuff, you do have to practice sometimes some communication styles that I like to call the in and out technique, where you meet someone and you figure out pretty quickly you might not have some shared values. They don't have good boundaries in their life. They're, like, for example, behaving like the people in some of those reality TV shows. You want to approach those conversations and those engagements with grace and kindness, but you got to make your exit. Otherwise, you'll kind of get like trapped in that world. And before you know it, you've been on the phone listening to someone's story of their kids and their loved one and health issues and drama for an hour. Okay. So have these check-ins with people at times when you feel like you can handle it. And other times you might feel like you just want to focus on yourself and retreat and recover. And when life has, those things that kind of get your heart racing a little bit, or something happens to a loved one, like my mom just had surgery, so I was there. I kind of cleared the deck so that I could be with her and make sure that she was okay. I had to do that, and I'm grateful that I have the privilege to be able to do that, because we only got one family. And it's important that we take care of each other as much as we possibly can. So I know that's a privilege to be able to care for a loved one when they need it. But she really set the example for me with how she cared for her mother. And my mom and myself were both the caregivers for her mother and father as they got on in years. So I like this. I like being able for us to set the example of how we can care for ourselves and our loved ones in life. However, you don't want to burn yourself out in the process. You want to always be supporting yourself, making sure you're still working out, making sure you're still eating, making sure that you're taking those adaptogens, antioxidants, omegas, all of that, having enough water, 2 to 2.5 liters of water for ladies, 3 liters for guys, going easy on the caffeine. Really, if you're going through a tough time, lay off the alcohol. Don't even go there. You might feel like, oh, I just need a drink, something like that. That's actually going to not be conducive to your sleep and recovery. So sometimes taking that time to yourself to just relax, unwind, read a book, take a bath, jump in your sauna, go to the gym, watch a constructive show. Like, I love to watch like science-based documentaries, or like history documentaries, or personal development stuff. And I just finished listening to Mel Robbins' book called The Let Them Theory. And I think that this is really helpful to share with you too, because when stress happens, what we do with our faces can start to wear on our faces over time. So, say for example, you're focusing at work or a stressful situation happens, you're talking with someone, you're trying to show empathy and you're matching their facial expressions. Say they're furrowing their brows or they're raising their eyebrows up or they're frowning. We can often in a way kind of mirror other people's expressions, and I've observed this in individuals, specifically family members, where another family member is like very dynamic with their face. Their nervous system is not regulated. Their body is in a high cortisol state, high adrenaline state. And then it starts to impact this other individual who's communicating with them. Instead of trying to match that type of really high stress, high cortisol, high adrenaline, dysregulated energy, that stress energy, instead of matching that, I want you to maintain this calibrated state of peace and calm and problem solving. You're tapping into more of a noradrenaline state. What's the problem? How do we solve that problem? Keeping the eyes on the target. It's very different hormonal expression of ourselves compared to that high cortisol, high adrenaline, high beta brain state, which will age you, because when cortisol is elevated, it depletes your collagen and elastin and all of that. Hormones really run the show. Okay. So master how you engage with others who you love, or in a professional setting. Stay true to who you are and don't match them. Keep your voice cadence slower, softer, open body language, showing empathy, nodding. But you don't need to contort your face to show that you are hearing them and understanding them. We can basically recognize and then showcase to others that we're hearing them through some of our verbal responses and through some of our communication and body language cues. So just something to mention there, because if we try and match people who are dysregulated and don't really do the things that we do, or the things that you've learned here on the School of Radiance podcast that I've shown you, highlighted some things for you to change in your life in a one-on-one session, in the tutorials, especially in the membership. Other people just don't have these tools, and that's okay. Everyone will kind of find this information out when they're on their journey. It's not your job to teach every single person around you all the different things that you've been learning from a personal development, self-care, and biohacking and health perspective, but it is your job to be the example. And when you continue to show up as this individual who can handle a lot, like I wear about 13 different hats in the way that I make money, it's quite a bit. And there's things that pop up all the time, but you get really good at being able to make decisions that are logical. And then you become better at not perseverating over a stressful event or stressful news or situation. You can flow through it easier. And there's nothing worse than the conversation that you can probably think of when someone's just broken up with somebody, for example, and you keep like rehashing all the stuff about the past. Dr. Joe Dispenza actually talked about this in a conference that I attended that he did. There's a group of probably about 1,000 of us in the room. And he basically had this chart up, and there's this line. He drew a line on this whiteboard. And what can happen is you want to progress, you desire to progress, you desire to grow and move towards a specific goal that you have, like your vision for your life. And if you keep getting stuck in these same conversations, in these same looping thought patterns of perseverating over something in a non-constructive way, you're just like stuck in that emotional state. You're stuck in that feeling. You're stuck in that problem. You're not going to make any progress towards your purpose and your vision for your life. You're going to be stuck there. You're going to be wasting a lot of energy. The other thing that's going to waste a ton of energy is the what ifs. So when you're in a bit of a bit of a bind, something's going on in your life, health-wise, family-wise, financially-wise, environmental wise, all sorts of different things, especially with, fires, forest fire situation, like anything, stuff's always going to happen. Instead of thinking about the what ifs, think about the actions that you can take now to support yourself. So in a bit of a more stressful situation, I really don't recommend fasting, because your body's already going through a little bit more stress. So what you want to do is be very kind to your body, reduce the nervous system stimulation. So a more quiet environment, softer lighting, soothing music, a soothing podcast voice, if you will, and really focus on fueling your body and your nutrition. Because if you're going through a tricky time and you decide to fast, what's going to happen is your blood sugars are going to tank, and then you'll actually end up feeling more anxious. So that's why actually eating and keeping up with your hydration is actually going to help your mood. And just consider, when you are going through a bit more of like a stressful time, what you can do to stay as relaxed and regulated as possible. And then once you kind of overcome that, I want you to take some time to recalibrate. What did you learn? How did you respond? Did you respond in a way of integrity? Because that's going to build confidence, by the way, when you respond in situations out of integrity, because then you're not going to have shame and anger with yourself. You're going to be much more happy with the way that you flowed through things and overcame things. What did you learn? How did you respond? What did you do with your body language? What did you feel somatically in your body? I've gone through a couple of situations in my life where in my body, I just felt this like tension, this almost like shaking, like I was shivering. Like this was a full on somatic response that I was having in a situation. So always listen to what your body is trying to tell you. You got one body, okay? Your body can communicate with you. So the whole thing about radiance is being as pure as possible, okay? Reducing that oxidative stress, keeping that inflammation down, purifying your environment through air, water, lighting, electromagnetics, eating the right foods, and detoxing as needed. But also with your thoughts, with what you choose to let into your eyes and your ears and around you, staying as pure as possible and being dialed in. The most attractive, the most fit people, the happiest people I know are very dialed in with the way that they live, and they live a more peaceful lifestyle. They don't live the lifestyle of keeping up with the Joneses. So I use that example of, the Housewives reality show or all these other different types of reality shows. Like a lot of these people, they're behaving in ways that is not mature, and they're oftentimes also drinking on the show. And so they don't call it spirits for nothing. So that's why, as you go through times, just like really keep a level head. Don't introduce things that could potentially interfere with the way that you show up and present and those types of things. That's really important. And the other thing I want to mention is like really this is coming down to self-mastery. This is coming down to you learning how to flow through stressful times by actually learning how to self-soothe. So self-soothe, okay? What does that mean? If we look at videos of Britney Spears, and in an interview, she was self-soothing. She was like rubbing her arms or bobbing her foot when she's being asked tricky situations. So people respond when they're uncomfortable with sometimes these self-soothing actions. I love to study body language, especially because I work with so many people. It's very helpful in interpersonal dynamics like relationships, family, friends, communicating, sales, like this stuff applies everywhere, because you want to be able to see what other people are maybe going through, how they're responding. Are they shelling up? Are they closing off? Are they self-soothing? And on the flip side of that, are you maybe doing that? So just notice what happens within your body when you're asked certain things, when you have certain types of conversations. What do you do? Do you get stressed out? Does your heart rate get elevated? Do you start to kind of like tap your toe or fidget with your fingers or something? Just notice what you do. And I want you to master, when you're in a stressful situation, to breathe and stay focused and tune into how you're feeling. And some of you may be dealing with different things like anxiety or mental health stuff or physical injuries. But what you don't want to do is, in conversation, say things like my whiplash or my anxiety or my hip pain or something like that, because that's going to be reinforced in your identity. So if you're feeling something, say you're feeling pain in some way, say that you're feeling that pain, but don't say like it's your pain, or, my this or that, or I have this. You want to just, same thing goes with acne and fine lines and pigmentation. Don't say my acne. Don't say my acne scarring. Don't say my hair loss. Don't say my weight gain. Don't say my thyroid disease. Don't say my cancer. This is something that I'm experiencing right now, and it makes me feel like this. Sometimes that can be helpful to communicate and kind of just like get off your chest and allow you to be feel seen a little bit. So I know that was a bit of a tangent, but I want you to start to practice. I desire for you to start to practice some of these things and this self-awareness of why you might respond in certain ways, and then flow through it. Identify what that is. Don't just brush stuff under the rug. If there's serious issues you need to deal with, obviously seek help. Right? Seek professional counseling to help you work through. Maybe you have some attachment style that is not great in your life. Like, say, for example, you're anxious or avoidant or dismissive avoidant. You want to be secure. I desire for you to be a secure individual who has a very steadfast outlook on life. You take care of yourself. You do your skincare. You exercise. You do your biohacking. You're being a good person. At the end of the day, that's what I'm here to do and show up to encourage you all to do, is to be these types of people, because there's a lot of, good things in the world. There's also a lot of bad things in the world. So for us here as part of the School of Radiance community, to be these more dialed individuals, to set this example of what a healthy, radiant, beautiful individual looks like and behaves like, other people are going to notice, and then other people are going to ask questions, and they're like, oh, you're really beautiful, or you look really good. Like, how are you dealing with this? Right? You don't look wear for the tear. Like, you can go through really stressful times, look in the mirror and feel like, oh my gosh, what happened? Or you can look in the mirror and be like, that happened? And I had this actually last summer where I went through a particularly tough time. For those of you who have been tuning into the show for a while, I kind of laid it out in an email of, all the fun stuff that was going on in my life. It was a lot of moving things all at once, but it was all for the better. But still, it was just this transition state. And ideally, we want to have like a very peaceful, grounded, stable life and living situation. And I was in this like flux, and it was tough. I had a skin issue pop up that I never had before, and my skincare solved the problem. So that was kind of cool. I was sure to talk about that in my personal experience. But I had to go through that. It's almost like that hero's journey. But you come out on the other side. You learn things about yourself, like almost just how much you really can handle. And then it builds this confidence. And I'll never forget, I looked at myself in the mirror, and I had been feeling really crummy. I had been feeling really tired, really exhausted. Body was hurting. There were so many different things happening all at once. I was like stressed out. And then I kind of turned this corner. And I'm sharing this because you can experience this too. You can look in the mirror and not feel like your face looks 5, 10 years older, right? You can feel that you actually look better because you've been able to build this confidence. So you can have all the different signs of aging, like fine lines, wrinkles, pigmentation. Um, you can have those things on the skin and still be very beautiful, very attractive, have a beautiful heart, a beautiful demeanor to you. That actually I think is going to override your physical appearance, because all of those good qualities will shine through in your eyes and your smile and your warmth and your gestures and the way that you communicate. So again, I kind of get into more in-depth things like that in the membership. And I do want to invite questions here now in the chat. What questions do you specifically have about flowing through stressful situations? And while I wait for some questions here, I'm just going to mention some things that I learned in a great book recently by Mel Robbins. It's the Let Them Theory. It's the book I referenced earlier. I love Audibles, by the way. I love reading and learning and personal development and all of that, because as a creator myself, I have to consume information and content as well, and kind of see what different people are saying and how can I apply it to the beauty and radiance and rejuvenation angle here on the show to continue to support you. And the Let Them Theory is all about other people in your lives, just letting them. I mean, there's a nuance if you have like teenage kids and you have to, actually provide a little bit of discipline and direction and things like that. But in general, the Let Them Theory is just allowing others to just do their thing, to go through their own situation and struggles, and cultivate that confidence, cultivate those problem solving skills. You cannot micromanage everyone in your life, because that will deplete you. So the Let Them Theory, I think, is really a beautiful book. And for those of you who are moms, I think that it's a great read. It's a great listen. And for those of you also even who are dating, right? I'd probably say about 50% of you here listening are in relationships and then are single. And all of this beauty and radiance stuff, it's going to make you more attractive. It's going to make you more attractive to the partner that you're with, and also the partner that you are excited to share your vision with. But especially in dating and when you're getting to know someone, let them. Don't put other people on a pedestal with how you envision they are and how they're going to act and what their vision is. They will eventually show you who they are, how they operate, how they overcome stress, and let them. Okay, especially in dating, don't be a mom. You're a supporter, you're a nurturer. That's kind of like a whole different side of things. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention, for those of you who are single out there and are dating and are looking for their fantastic partner to find them, you have to make sure that you are exactly who you would also wish to be with. And same thing if you're in a relationship too. If you're not growing, you're getting stuck and you're going to be stagnant. So I think it's great as couples to go through some of this personal development stuff. And in the membership, there's a number of key quizzes and assessment tools and videos that I do encourage couples to watch, to give you cool things to talk about and get to know each other, like your love languages, attachment styles, because I think it's really important to strengthen a relationship. And when you are on this path of desiring to be your most beautiful version, you're going to become your most attractive version, right? And then there's also the flip side of that, of who you choose to share your beautiful, radiant, warm, caring, loving energy with as well. Because you like who you are, you're confident in who you are, and you have a really dialed in lifestyle. You wish to be in a partnership and friendships and professional connections with people who are also kind of similar to you. But there's going to be those engagements with people who aren't. They don't have those shared values. They don't have the same level of awareness. But what that's going to do is actually give you a leg up to be able to discern whether or not those are individuals who you choose to spend time and attention on and invest and share some of the beautiful qualities that you have. I do want you to be discerning with who and what you spend your time and attention on, because time is the one commodity that we don't get back. Okay. And so when we're considering who we are engaging with, I want you to just notice how they are and then how you feel. And if you talk to that person, if you communicate with that person, and it makes you feel dysregulated, it makes you feel like you're questioning yourself, you're walking on eggshells, your heart rate is getting elevated, you're just not really feeling like your best version when you're in certain situations and around certain people, I do want you to take inventory of that, because stress is often induced by other people. It's like someone starting a business and wanting to keep the liability low and not have a ton of employees. And when you have a business and you have a lot of employees, that's a lot of interpersonal dynamics to deal with, which is where HR department comes in handy, so that the CEO and the boss and the company can focus on what they need to do to build the company. And then they have someone to help them manage the employees with that specific skill set. And actually, a lot of you tuning in here are working in HR. And those HR ladies, they need to learn a lot about communication and negotiation and gestures and reading people, so that the company benefits essentially, and it's a win-win for everybody. So I love working with you HR ladies. If you're in HR, I want to connect with you because that's kind of like, in a way, how I can make a really big impact as well is with the mothers, with women who are leaders and have a lot of people kind of like noticing how they're operating, to be operating at a specific level, to be calibrated and dialed in at a specific level that people kind of pause a little bit and be like, oh, there's something different about them. What's different about them? That's actually going to be magnetic, very attractive, and also gives you the opportunity to maybe just share one thing that could positively benefit their life, not the biohacking fire hose, which you might be tempted to do after you learned all these things with the ways that I can support you. Okay. Kelly says, love that book. It has helped me a lot. Yeah, Kelly's referencing the Let Them Theory book by Mel Robbins. One of the things that I really do want to encourage you here to do, hey, Rebecca, is to really notice I know I've said this before, but I just want to reiterate it. When you are, say, going through a tough time, you're diving into things that are constructive, like books, like personal development style courses. Like the membership is, I think, just an incredible resource for all of you here. If you have any questions about that, just reach out to me, send me an email, book a 15-minute call, and I'll help you discern if the membership is a good fit for you, because what I talk about there isn't for everybody. It's for very specific people that I know I can serve and make an impact on. I just want you to notice how people talk. And I really like what Mel Robbins is doing. I just feel like her delivery could be softened up just a little bit. Right. So this is pretty common in the biohacking speaking space for people to be talking in this very high beta brainwave state and high cortisol dumping state, which kind of then puts you in that state. And then also in the state of, oh my gosh, if I don't do this, I'm failing at life. So it's just, that's why when I show up here on the podcast, I like to deliver this information in a way that is going to be conducive to soothing your nervous system. Because at the end of the day, I just said that these are live, real, raw, and edited. The more calm and at peace you are, and the more confident you are, and the more in that loving caring state, that is going to express itself on your face. Also your body composition, right? We've heard of this cortisol face. We've heard of weight gain associated with stress and things like that. Like if the body is in the survival state, it's not going to be recovering and recharging. That's why sleep is so key, right? Sleep is key, but still move your body, move your lymphatics. If you're going through a particularly tough time, still go for that walk outside, still lift those weights, get in that sauna, maybe do that cold plunge, but keep that adrenaline and cortisol to a minimum. Keep the sugar to a minimum. Like pretty much don't have alcohol. Don't numb out with drugs and alcohol. Really important. And just know that there's only going to be specific things in your life that you can impact. And then the other things, you just have to let them and be okay with that. Like you don't have to play detective and problem solve everyone else's problems for them. Sure, you can listen and you can empathize and maybe you can provide some constructive feedback. But at the end of the day, if someone's going through something, like they should probably see a counselor and get some professional guidance and maybe do some deeper healing work. It's really, really important. And one of the things that I did that was just changed my life was that long fast that I did in Arizona and Utah. A number of years ago, I did over a week-long fast in the desert at altitude, and I'm used to Pacific Northwest and sea level. Tested my metabolic flexibility. I really was in a hot desert environments. I had some just beautiful experiences, and I felt like near the end of it, I had kind of turned this corner. And I'll never forget, I had a picture taken of myself, and I looked at that picture. It's like, I legitimately looked different. And if you go on the schoolofradiance.com, you'll see some of those pictures of the red rocks behind me. I looked different. It's like my eyes had this different shine. My skin had this different shine. My smile was like actually happy. And so that was a number of years ago. And then this past summer, I felt like I went through kind of another similar thing. So what I'm getting at is the fact that I've gone through, tough times more than once. And then at the end of it, looked in the mirror or saw myself in a picture. I was like, how did that happen? Right? Like, how did I actually look better after that? So I just want to share that with you because you kind of are what you expect to receive. And I would love for you to just have this mindset that everything is always working out in ways that are even better than you can imagine now. This is also, of course, where faith comes into play too. So there is some research that those who read their Bible like 3 times a week have lower levels of stress and overall life satisfaction. And we know that stress is a key contributor to so many different diseases and all of that. So whatever we can do, even if we're in stressful situations, to just calm down, to just chill out, to relax that nervous system, get out in nature, put your feet in the sand, ground outside, nourish yourself, be around people who soothe your nervous system. So hopefully there's some people in your life who, when you're around them, you feel peace. And I feel that peace, love is peace and peace is love, right? We shouldn't be in these dynamics that are stressing us out all the time, right? That's not really healthy. And some of us have been through that in our lives. And then we're like, okay, well, this isn't working anymore. And then you have to make the necessary shifts to make space for something that's better, something that's more conducive to you being healthy and happy and living your purpose and making an impact and living by example and just enjoying life. So I have some favorite F words: faith, family, fun, freedom, fitness, finances. Those are some of the key 6 areas of our lives in this reality that we do need to make sure are balanced and stable and ongoing. We need to kind of fill up those containers ongoing because they're important aspects of us living as humans. And then also really paying attention to your body, mind, spirit energy. So body, making sure you're exercising, getting in some cardio, getting in some stretching, lifting those weights. Mind, do things that are soothing, that are keeping you in positive brain states. So I love the brain tap technology. For meditation, I actually have a beauty and radiance track where I even take you into that moment where I had that picture taken of me at this beautiful river in Sedona. And I actually take you into that moment of what I was feeling, what I was sensing, what I was hearing, the sun on my face, the stream beside me, just the sounds of that, the sounds of the birds, and just feeling the warmth of the rocks. And I actually take you there. And with Brain Tap, there's also some light modalities that are helpful for getting your brain into certain brainwave states. There's been some research with the Brain Tap technology that can even help to reduce brain inflammation. That's the work by Dr. Patrick Porter. He's been on the show before. You can find the Brain Tap headset on the biohacking page. And then when you get the headset, you get the app, you can look up my name, Rachel Varga. You're going to find a meditation on there that I think you're going to really love. I had a girlfriend over the other day and I had her set up in my sauna. And I also had her set up with my Brain Tap and put that meditation on. And she kept the meditation on repeat. She's like, oh, I really loved it. So she loved it. And I'm sure you will love it too. And just know that you're going to get through this. Whatever you're going through in life, you can get through this, right? Life is full of ups and downs, peaks and valleys. Things aren't roadblocks, they're obstacles. But also having peace that sometimes a closing of a door is simply a redirection. So I have a lot of peace with that because I do a lot of things in the day and I have to make a lot of decisions like really quick, especially being an entrepreneur. So I can't perseverate because then there's this concept of opportunity cost, right? Losing out on something, a really good deal, a really good decision. So I do have to, I've gotten really good at making decisions quite quickly with the information that I have. And that's from that noradrenaline state. Instead of that adrenaline, cortisol, you don't want to make decisions in your life when you're from a hurt, in pain, dysregulated, inflamed state, because you're probably not going to make the best decisions. You might be operating more from a survival mode. My desire for you is to operate more from a thriving mode. And when you're dialed in with how you're living, with how you're moving through life, with how you're flowing through stressful situations in your life and in the lives of those around you, just do the best you can. But keep it positive, keep it constructive, and just know that this too shall pass. Kelly, thanks for that. I did not know you were on Brain Tap. I will look for you. Yeah, you're going to love it. It's a beauty meditation. I actually really should record some more meditations for Brain Tap. That was a really fun one, and I've had some great feedback on that one. So it'll just take you into that moment of when I kind of had that like first, what I would say like Radiance 1.0. And then last summer was Radiance 2.0. So it's just kind of like really interesting for me to, when I've gone through really stressful times where I had to really shake things up and restructure things, that I didn't look where for the tear, even though in any other situation for anybody else, they would probably look pretty haggard. And that's oftentimes when people seek out rejuvenation. So obviously I'm always looking at these angles of like stress and overcoming tricky situations from the beauty and the radiance and the longevity angle. So piece of advice I have for you guys is if you're going through a tough time, health stuff of you or family member, relationship stuff, finance stuff, environmental stuff, whatever, just know that you can get through things differently than you had in the past. And when you're going through tricky situations, that might not be the best time to have rejuvenation done. I just taught a lesson in tutorials on pre and post rejuvenation tips, walking you through the various different types of rejuvenation options that are great to do this time of year, with some of my tips and tricks for pre and post recovery, overview of the different technologies and how they work and what they can do. No, this is not medical advice. It's educational information only. If you think you have a medical condition, you must seek the guidance of a licensed physician. And the reason I say to not look at, say, doing lasers or injectables or surgery when you're going through a tough time is because your oxidative stress status and your toxic bucket, which I talk about here all the time, it's full with the mental stress. Okay, even if you're feeling your body really well, you're doing all the things I talk about in one-on-one tutorials, membership, even if you're doing all that stuff, your bucket's still going to be a little bit more full because of things like mental stress, right? Mental fatigue, just like, oh my gosh, like another thing, like, oh, this is heavy. Am I going to get through this? You can get through it. It's just not the best time to look at rejuvenation. And this is one of the reasons I wrote that paper not too long ago titled Oxidative Stress Status and Its Impacts on Skin Aging. You can find a couple of my research papers if you go to the schoolofradiance.com and go to the research tab in the navigation menu. You can also find in the navigation menu my link for my biohacking page, like the Brain Tap and Organifi. And then also that's where you will find my skincare tab too, over at the schoolofradiance.com. It'll link you up to finding all my favorite skincare products, because the skin's the largest organ. You want to use clean products that are going to do what you want them to do. So look at doing rejuvenation when you're feeling really good. Because when I've done rejuvenation on people, when I can tell that, one woman in particular, she just watched the news and was, right before coming to see me, she was all ramped up. Like, her nervous system was on high alert. She was in high beta state, high cortisol, high adrenaline. She was so sensitive to any type of discomfort. And when people sometimes do rejuvenation and they have underlying autoimmune conditions, and then they have rejuvenation, it can kind of tip over that toxic bucket. So that's another reason why I wrote that paper, was to actually provide awareness to fellow practitioners to identify and screen for these things better. But just for you to know that looking at doing rejuvenation at a time when you're feeling really good, when you're feeling like things have stabilized, then maybe do some rejuvenation, okay? But don't look at rejuvenation as this quick fix because you're going through a tough time, you're furrowing your brows like a crazy mad woman all the time, right? You have to first master just relaxing your system first, okay? When you're in a good place, then maybe consider doing some rejuvenation. Just some tidbits of advice so that when you do decide to do some rejuvenation, which I'm happy to provide some insights on through a one-on-one session, what to do, where to go, based on what your specific needs are, then you're just going to be better prepared. But there's also things to do at home, like your foundational skincare routine, the biohacking stuff, reducing oxidative stress, to kind of be like the heavy lifting before actually investing in things in the clinic too. And I've just seen over the years that individuals who take that kind of approach, they do better. They actually don't need as much rejuvenation. They appear more beautiful and quote unquote radiant well in their later, more mature years in life, like 70s, 80s, and 90s. So it's not just rejuvenation that's going to make you pretty. It's not just your makeup that's going to make you pretty. I mean, sure, doing these things to beautify yourself and increase your attractiveness, research also shows that can help you make more money. There's a direct correlation with how attractive you are, how likable you are, with how much money you make, and how easy it is for you to make friends and build your community, which is a deep-rooted survival need. Building your community, which happens when you are more confident. So now you have all this information, probably way too much. So take your time, integrate this, be good people, make a great impact out there, take care of yourself first so that you can best take care of others Don't deplete your mineral stores in your body and tax your adrenals because you're just running on all 12 cylinders and you're not taking the time for a little bit of an oil change or putting the good petrol in the tank, right? You're still putting bad, low octane petrol in. Sometimes you just got to make sure that that food quality is on point, those antioxidants, those adaptogens, the protein, the water, that's all on point. And then you'll perform better. And then you'll look better. All right. Love you all so much. Have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you again right here on the School of Radiance podcast.